Chapter 949 Mummy.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast. I'm the best guy ever and I'm joined as always by Hypocrite.
Hey, you know those songs in the anime where it's like there's a cool song playing as like the guys they walk, the Straw Hat Pirates they walk cool? Like that
dun,
bit.
Dun 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 dun. Like
That's
that
the
one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I imagined that just this day. But with us walking and then it was revealed that we thought we were cool and nobody was paying attention to us.
Who's we?
Us two. Like us two. This is the
two of
crew.
us.
Like we're doing the cool walk, like with the eyes like in shadows because we're so badass. But then
Right.
it turns out nobody's actually paying attention to us.
Was this done on our ship that we are currently on?
No, we were like landing at a place and we were like walking down in an island, and there was like, and then everyone turned around and looked, oh, it's Tekking, whoa, whoa, and they
Oh, damn
anime
it.
scream ran over to him, and we were like, oh.
I'm so ashamed. Well, one day we'll have that sweet internet clout.
I just
internet
like the
ocean.
idea of that being animated. You get like anime on the phone, see if you can do something.
Yeah, call up Johnny Anime. He's got a clear schedule for what I've heard, so he should have time to take up a project like this for free. And no one's more deserving than we are. Okay, so what we got is it's chapter 949, Mummy. But first things first, looks like the cover of Shonen Jump has One Piece on it, looking cool. Got Zoro and Samurai Boys.
We got
the anime has rolled out and is looking. Have you seen the clips of the anime for Wano?
I have seen like a screenshot or two, and it looks, I can't tell much from that, but it looks pretty good.
I've seen a couple of it almost feels like a whole different animation style. I watched a clip of, like, remember when Zoro was going to commit seppuku or whatever when he was caught, but he does an epic slash with the seppuku blade and, like, kills the magistrate.
I think I saw
and then
that
he runs
gif.
away.
That's definitely seemed like
looked real
something
good.
else.
You know, because One Piece is so long and there's so many episodes, you can never be like, oh, that one moment looks great, therefore I'm sure all of Wano will look fantastic. You can never make that kind of a bet. But I'm no anime specialist. Maybe it's... People liked Whole Cake. Maybe it's as good as Whole Cake. The Katakuri fight looked beautiful. I don't know. Let us know, people, if the anime is good. But who cares about anime? I'm about still motion pictures.
I'm
that don't
about
move.
this double-page color spread with the big monkey and the big banana.
Indeed. He's like a Monkey D large. You know, like that's his name if he was... He's like a big guy. He's larger than Luffy, so... You know, and look at Luffy there. He's looking more muscular. At least his, like, shoulder. Those deltoids are getting some plumpness to him. I wonder if this is... I kind of want to go back and track. I felt like Luffy didn't really get much musculature until, like, at the Katakuri fight and then post-Katakuri fight.
Well, yeah,
Possibly just from the...
Yeah, sure.
I know, we've talked about this before.
He's got an elastic body. Like, he can bulk up in strange ways. We don't know.
Indeed.
I have been wondering, though, looking at Brook over there being so emaciated with no flesh and all that.
He is a bone man, but yeah.
Is it even possible for him to, like, train to get stronger?
My position is yes, because he's such a weird creature, like a animated skeleton animated by the power of a devil fruit. We know he can piss and shit and vomit and cry and puke and cum. We know all these things, canon, for fact. So I just
all
think
in
that, like, the same
SBSs.
rule applies. Indeed, it's all covered in the SBS. I feel like the same rules generally apply to, like, getting stronger or training. Like, he was pretty good with his sword after the time skip when he cut that zebra stripe man. Though that might have just been, like, ice powers that we know he got instead of, like, better sword skills or strength or anything.
I assume all of his, like, actual strength comes from the soul. Like, I assume the ice is, like, icy cold, like, sort of like a blues
hellscape
sort of,
thing.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, because it's a shonen, until proven otherwise, we know that, for example, the one thing that we know is that Brook's afro is confirmed will not grow back if it gets cut, so he has to protect that at all costs so Laboon will recognize him. Doesn't really matter, but that's a cute little touch. I'm just going to assume that the rest of him is just like a normal shonen character who can get stronger through training and whatnot.
Drinking lots of milk.
Indeed. We know that's a special power of his. Although Luffy also regrows teeth after drinking milk, which we saw. He was with Capone. But whatever. Powerful skeleton boys. They've got lots of strength. Hey, cool cover. Robin looks great. Nami looks great. Everyone looks great. Looking good, guys. But by the way, before we get to the actual chapter, did you by any chance go and read the... there was like a spin-off chapter, the One Piece special Boichi crossover. And if you're not familiar, again, Boichi is the man...
I heard of that.
Did you read that?
I did not read it.
So I went and read it, and what it was Boichi's the guy who's currently doing Dr. Stone, and is very famous for a number of series.
Oh,
great
no,
art.
wait, I saw a few panels of that. It's like a recreation of the Zoro Mihawk fight.
Indeed. I don't know, I haven't done any research, but my guess is that, like, it's called a Oda x Boichi crossover. My guess is that Oda was like, Boichi, or someone suggested, like, hey, what chapter do you want to recreate? And Boichi said, how about, like, the best chapter ever where Zoro fought Mihawk, and it was totally sick nasty. And it was sick nasty. I read it. It's actually, it's called Chapter 1, Roronoa Zoro Falls into the Sea. That's the name of the Chapter 51 of One Piece. This is actually Chapter 51 and 52 combined. It's the full fight with Mihawk and subsequent swear to never lose again. And it looks really cool, and it's really great. And what a great tribute to one of the greatest manga moments of all time, and a legendary One Piece thing. It was really cool. You should read it. I really, really liked it. I like Boichi a lot. It's kind of cool to see. For a long time, Boichi was like a seinen manga guy. He wasn't in like the Shonen Jump, Shonen circles. But now it's like, because he made Dr. Stone, and now he's the artist, he's not the writer. Now because he's like involved in Shonen Jump, now he's doing cool Shonen Jump crossovers, and he's one of the boys with, he's drawing Luffy in the gang. Though it's like, this is like Zoro-focused chapter. Oh, anyway, it's real fun, it's real good. How the fuck do these guys have time to make all this shit? I don't know.
Yeah, I have no...
But it's awesome.
It seems strange how that could even be feasible.
I mean, Boichi is just the artist, so he's not the writer, so maybe, schedule's a little more free. But I've read Bakuman, and it looks tough, guys. Oh, they make me ashamed that I'm not working harder. But I will. I'll use that energy and fuel my efforts this upcoming week. Okay, so let's get to it. Chapter 949, Mummy. And by the way, if you haven't read that, people, go read that Boichi chapter. It's real good. It's on Jimany's box if you want to go read it. Okay, here we go. Wano Country. What's up?
So, Wano Country, we're in Udon still. They didn't cut away, as we thought they may have. And they're still fighting, and they're still shooting the prisoners with the disease bullets, the excitement bullets, that are getting them all fucked up. Chopper does an entire thing in this panel.
He does.
He punches, because he's angry that medicine is being used for evil, using viruses as a weapon, and so he punches some guys. Doesn't punch the guy who's shooting.
No, he hits random fodder. Not even relevant, really. Way to go. Heavy stamp combo attack. So cool. I mean, it looks cool.
It's pretty cool.
You just feel like Oda's like, God, I gotta have a Chopper do like something. Okay, how about a combo punch with Luffy? This is the only thing Chopper does in the whole chapter, so it's not, and it's just fodder. It's not even important. Oh, Lord. Well, that's Chopper for you.
I pray, but let's just move on for now. So, Hyogoro, name,
Okiku?
Kiku.
Yeah.
Okiku, and Kapapapoi Papi,
Kawamatsu,
Kawamatsu, they all do a cool thing, and Raizo as well. And then Raizo throws the keys over to Kid and Killer, who have been freed thanks to Big Mom smashing them, so now they're not drowning anymore.
Correct,
and,
they're alive. Kid looks very... Ooh, I really like that expression on Kid's face. He's like, cool, freedom. But I've got bigger problems. Like, my best boy is like a weird cripple laughter man, and just being free does not cure all my issues.
He's got a lot of shit to deal with right now. And he's just sort of watching the carnage from the sidelines. I'm thinking like
so bad for him.
He's not sure like whether Luffy is like worth throwing his lot in with. Like from his perspective, this is not important to him, but it kind of might be if he's trying to take down Kaido. if Luffy can like get Kid on his side in some way, that would be a big thing. But we don't see his reaction in this chapter.
I think probably next chapter we'll see, but I mean, soon enough we'll get some more, stuff on Kid. Kid is one of my he's one of my favorite characters who's like involved in this story right now. He has such like an intimidating backstory. He's such a deeply, clearly like empathetic character. Like he just wants to be free. And when we first met him in Shaboni Archipelago, the reason he had a higher bounty than Luffy was because, well, Luffy will, like, as Shanks taught him in Chapter 1, when people just bully you and laugh at you, you just ignore them and you just go continue to pursue your dreams. You don't let it bother you. Kid took a different track, and everybody who laughed at him, he would leave in a bloody mess on the ground because he would not tolerate that. And so the amount of destruction he caused his bounty to be higher than Luffy's, which is why he was the #1 most valuable supernova at the time, the only one above Luffy. But now he's just been reduced to such like a lowly state, and I feel so bad for him. His crew was obviously decimated. Fucking his best boy Kid, fucking Killer is all fucked up. Oh, it really gets me. I feel so sad looking at him.
I want to see a bit of like the regrouping of the Kid pirates.
Yeah. We'll definitely get some of that, and I want a flashback so bad because of course, like the first thing we saw, I think long time ago was Oda does this thing now where he draws the characters as kids, and we learned a lot from that. And we saw, I think Kids was like just like a spiky-haired youth, clearly like messy and dirty and gross, like holding like a little robot and like a wrench that he had built or something. A little mechanic kid with a spunky attitude, made his way up to be a big pirate boy from nothing.
He's like a combination of Frankie and Buggy.
Yeah, kinda, and also some Luffy mixed in there. He doesn't let nobody get him down. Oh, Good work, sir. But you're right, he is. Buggy and Frankie, that's a great combo. Okay, anyway, we'll see more about Kid in the future, no doubt.
So the bullets are still flying, the excitement bullets still getting people, turning them all into this guy explains what the disease does. It spreads super fast, it makes blood come out of you, there's pain, it feels like you're on fire, and then you get reduced to a living husk of a man, and dried up like a mummy, and it's called the mummy virus, not the zombie virus. Very distinct mummy virus.
What was the zombie virus? Is that a different thing?
Like from...
Oh, you just mean in things,
like
being
from
a
Minecraft, that one.
Oh, of course. Now I understand.
This is distinct from that. This is the sand zombie virus from Minecraft.
I mean, these guys, right? These guys wouldn't attack. Like they're still normal people. It's just that they've been ordered by Old Maid to subdue these guys. But they're just lumbering along like weird dying boys.
Yeah, it feels weird. Like obviously, this is a disease that is debilitating because it causes extreme pain. But they're also like playing it up like, these guys are diseased and we are ordering them to fight you, but they're so much slower and in pain and unable to do much that it seems ineffectual. But I guess since we're in an enclosed space, there's only a matter of time until you get fucked up.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Incidentally, you ever notice how, like, this disease, sure, like, it infects other people, it doesn't even, what was it called, Shinokuni, like, when they were on, Punk Hazard trying to escape from the gas, that they said was, quote, instant death, and would, like, quote, fucking kill you.
Well, it not, quote, fucking kill you. It would, quote, instantly freeze all of your vital organs.
My point
from the
is
inside.
that... No, it was from the outside, because my point is that Oda's diseases are fucking pussy shit, and he's afraid to kill characters with shit like this, because, like, Kinemon was fully enveloped by the fucking gas, and it just shrugged it off after they broke him out of the shell or whatever. It was a fucking non-lethal virus, as is this.
Yeah.
This is the deadliest shit you got? How about fucking mustard gas that we had in, like, World War I? That'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't think that kills you. I think it just really annoys you and makes you itchy. And that's all it does. It doesn't do anything, in fact. In fact, it feels great. I chug this stuff.
Doesn't that like
I don't
permanently
actually
fuck
know.
you up afterward? Okay, we have diseases in real life and like poisonous gas. What about just like a cloud of arsenic or something? That'll kill you. That'll kill them. So you do that shit.
You know what? We were talking earlier. Oda's thinking, why is Chopper here? What is Chopper supposed to do? Oh,
Chopper's
I
gonna
know.
do something. Yeah, he's gonna
be the cure man, and he's gonna be
True.
like, I will cure all of you with this disease, and that's
Chopper
great.
will be able to do something. I feel oh my god! Imagine if Law shows up and it's just like, Chopper, stand aside. It's Law time, baby. I'm Doctor Boy. Here I go.
And then
Oda, please.
takes all of the bad jujus and puts it somewhere else. That's how he does it.
Puts it in the old maid, or puts it in that scorpion guy, because that guy's a jerk. Fuck that guy. Okay.
Do you think it was weird how like Caesar Clown was like this big, evil weapon manufacturer making evil poisonous gases, and Kaido just happens to also have a guy like that called Queen who makes plagues?
No, I think there's room in this world for, especially on the level we're talking about. I think there's room in this world for two science poisony boys.
I know there's room for two of them. It's just sort of like the whole thing with like Jack using a gas to get rid of people on Zoe. That was a Caesar Clown gas, not a Queen gas. It's just sort of like,
that's true.
Why does he really? I mean, I know he needs Caesar Clown for like the devil fruit stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think because they have different specialities. I think Queen's more of a tinkerer with diseases, whereas with Caesar Clown, I mean, he worked with Vegapunk. He's like a serious, dedicated science boy. I don't know. I feel like there's enough of a distinction there.
I guess there is. It's just sort of like a doubling up of specifically diseases and gases and
like
weapons
if Queen
of mass
didn't
destruction
exist,
and stuff.
True. If Queen didn't exist, it would be totally understandable if this current excitement bullets and this mummy virus was a Caesar Clown product. That would be easily believable, because that's exactly the sort of thing he does.
It may even be like more satisfying, because like the reach that this Caesar Clown bastard has had on the story is like, Kaido's getting all of these devil fruits from him. He's getting all this stuff from him. We beat him up. He's somewhere in Whole Cake flying around with a mirror at this point. I don't know what's going on with him. But like he's free, like the fact that he's free is a bad thing. And
it is a bad thing. He's not a good man.
But even if he were to be captured, it wouldn't make that much of a difference to Kaido, because he has Queen.
The weapons are already out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it is just sort of like, I would rather, if we're going to have like 1 million characters, I would rather not that many doubling ups of skill sets, if we can avoid it.
I totally see your point, and that does make a lot of sense to me. The only kind of thing I think that's somewhat positive about having Queen do it is that, like, I like that for the rest of One Piece, it won't be necessarily like, oh, there's a weapon like a poison or like a virus or like a cloud. Oh, that thing is obviously going to be related to this one character, Caesar Clown. Like, because it'd be a little bit weird in the big wide world of One Piece if every weapon of mass destruction was related to one character. It'd be a little bit like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, Vegapunk is currently a little bit like that with any kind of, like, just scientific advancement. It's always Vegapunk who he didn't actually invent Wapole metal. That was a fucking Wapole. But he figured out, like, how to use it to build those walls, I think, at, I could be wrong about that if he was responsible for that. But whatever. He did devil fruit research. He did the sea stone research. He figured out how to feed devil fruits to weapons with, like, Zoans to make all kinds of cool stuff. It's almost a little bit annoying sometimes when everything is just put on one character. So in something like this, I feel a little bit positive. I agree with you. It's a little bit weird to have a redundancy, but it's also kind of refreshing that, like, oh, good, not everything is going to be attributed just to one character.
I mean, I definitely
I don't know.
Agree with that. It's just sort of like Kaido and Caesar Clown were working together already. If it was like a different faction has their own, like, disease man, because it's kind of like Vegapunk and then like Sanji's dad, I forget his name, Judge. He's also a super scientist that makes mechanical weaponry
clones
things
and stuff.
He genetically modified his children. He genetically modified his entire army. He's got this crazy, country on ships. Like that's like a Vegapunk type character, but he was introduced way after we knew about Vegapunk. So like, it's not impossible to add like similar skill set characters later on. It is just this one fact that they were already on the same team, kind of.
I hear you, and that's fair. But, you know, just the only thing that relieves the pressure on that for me is also that, like, by far the most important thing that Kaido's relationship with Caesar Clown was about, basically the only thing that was truly important, was the fact that Caesar Clown is the only person on the planet who knew how to make SAD to convert that into smiles. He was the only man who knew how to do that. Maybe Vegapunk would too if like we talked to him, but that's how it's built up. Like Caesar Clown is the smile man. You have to be working with Caesar Clown to get smiles. All the rest of this shit, not like Kaido's main concern. He's got one quest to make his crew all smile boys. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if we learn about how much Vegapunk knows, he probably knows just a better way to make devil fruits.
He made Momonosuke's. That's the one that was made by you know.
So like
I guess he can do it at least once.
But yeah,
we'll see. I don't know, but fair points. All very fair points.
Anyway, this causes all the prisoners to continually turn on the good boys, Luffy and the gang. They're trying to convince them to be allies, but it's not working because they're getting shot. And so, these prisoners are all like lamenting the fact that they're all poisoned now and it hurts. You guys. You think you're so great. Well, Kaido's even greater, and look what he's done. Look what just one of his subordinates has done to all of us. There's no way you can defeat Kaido. This overwhelming power of this disease bullet. And he's like, I wish you never came here. And then Luffy grabs his face, and he lets the disease enter his arm, and he's like, he grabs everyone, hugs them, big rubber man hug, pushes them to the ground, and he's like, done hurt.
Not even a big deal, bro.
What are you, pussy? What are you, fag?
Yeah.
And he shouts to them, he calls them gay, and he kicks them. And but then it's a really cool moment where he's letting this disease get to him to show them that he is trustworthy and he can stand up to it, they can stand up to it. And it's very epic.
I like that in this conversation, what they're referring to, I didn't quite understand this at first. They're like, why'd you have to come here and interrupt our normal everyday life? But what they meant was the everyday normal life of being a fucking prisoner in jail and, being a slave laborer for Kaido. And sure, they wouldn't currently be suffering if Luffy hadn't, come in, but you'd still be a fucking slave. Yeah, and Luffy rightly points that out. Yeah,
they're truly in that Stockholm Syndrome mentality. Maybe not Stockholm Syndrome, but like the fear of Kaido has made them forget that they wanted to get out.
Indeed.
They just don't even think about it. They just like, this is our life. We have to do this because if we don't, all our family will die. It's like you're living as slaves. This is bad juju. This is bad news. So even the dogs agree.
Indeed. And Luffy here, he's clearly getting through him. I like that he punks him. He throws him on the ground, real epic style. And then we've got them. Looks like they're rethinking their position a little bit. And fucking there's Otama and Momonosuke. Looks like they are observing this. We just get like one panel of them. Don't know exactly what that's building to, but possibly something next chapter. I don't know. But then Luffy says, who cares if I'm an outsider? Are outsiders not allowed to protect this country? I'm going to protect this place, and I promised my friend Tama that she gave me some food, and I promised I'd make sure nobody in this country would ever have to worry about food ever again. So there he goes. He's getting through to him. There's Otama looking over. She's like, oh, that was me. Oh, my God. I'm famous and popular. He mentioned me in his epic tweet storm. I mean, there it is. Luffy, he's doing his big thing. He's doing the big conversion
He's doing
moment.
his big, oh, dude, look at that captain power. Look at that captain strength there. The leadership on display. He says words real loud, and everyone's like, oh, shit. He's saying words real loud. Are you serious? Are you seriously doing this right now? You're making us cry with how leadery you're being?
And this is just another one of those moments, by the way. So, as you said, Luffy infected himself on purpose to show what a badass he was. Okay, all cool. Diseases aren't instantly kill you or anything. Chopper's there. I'm sure he'll be healed. But, like, it sure is good that this wasn't an instant death disease. Otherwise, Luffy would have done the exact same things and then have just died. But
well, no, he wouldn't have done the exact same things because if it were instant death, the people who he would have needed to touch would have been dead, and he wouldn't need to be making a speech because they'd be dead.
You know what? Okay, fair. And you know what? I'll give him even the bigger benefit of the doubt. What if maybe this disease kills you in an hour, let's say? Okay, then they'd still be fighting back, and maybe they have the cure, whatever, or it doesn't exist. Chopper would definitely be able to whip up a magic cure within an hour, because Chopper's doctoring, as they say, and he'd have no trouble
Doctoring the
with
evidence.
that. Indeed. Okay, so we're here to defeat Kaido. Everyone's like, no, you'll never be able to defeat Kaido. Luffy's like, fuck that noise. Dragons are gay, and I'm gonna murder all of them. Starting with you, Momonosuke, as he snaps his fucking neck.
But he can't
epic.
snap his fucking neck because he's entirely a neck, and he just twists and turns around like a
Damn
pretzel.
it, you're right. So there you go. So he's like, do you want to be fucking allies or pussies? You gotta join me right now. We will defeat Kaido. So he's just telling them what they need to hear to finally get some spirit back up. To actually consider the possibility of defeating Kaido. And the big man have big manly tears, and Hyogoro, of course, does the narrator thing of, he has gripped their hearts. What amazing leadership. So
Masaka.
cool.
But then, big man, old maid, he's seeing what's going on. He's understanding. He's pulling on their heartstrings. I need to blow them to smithereens with this 200-ton excitement bomb. I don't know what, 200 times the virus? I assume that just means 200 times the pain.
Would that make it, lethal? Because, if it a little bit makes you,
I
a
don't know.
mummy boy, I'm just going to assume that, this much would make you, close to death or something. I mean, as we see shortly, let's get to that. So he's going to shoot a shell at him. He's going to do an elephant bullet blast or whatever.
And he gets his, trunk gun ready. Kawamatsu notices just a bit too late what's about to happen. He's like, shit, he's gonna shoot something at us. And then, Luffy's there, and he ties a knot in the trunk, and he says, I saw a slightly dangerous future, so...
So I think that's Luffy saying that if this had gone off, maybe a bunch of people would have died, or, he would have been hurt badly. Okay, so cool. Dangerous disease guy.
But yes, notable instance of Luffy seeing the future like Katakuri.
Yep, yes indeed. He's doing it. Being
Very
consistent.
cool.
And then, ba-pow! Puka! Oh my god, that, the bomb
That
goes
panel
off.
Is so cool.
I
love it.
Bruh.
I love also how you can see the bottom lip of the elephant is still kind of goofy looking.
Yeah, I see it there.
If it's not like a bomb and he's just doing a big sneeze, you could see how that would be, if he had googly eyes. But no, his head is sort of in flames, almost, with the amount of virus there.
Here's my note of silly shonen things. Okay, there appears to be a blast, and this blast appears to blow the armor off of at least one of his shoulders and break it into pieces. So, metal was shattered by this explosion, and yet Old Maid's physical body did not also explode, despite being of a much weaker material than metal. Maybe this guy's got really strong hockey. What kind of an explosion from inside your body would blow off your armor but not hurt, the integrity of your torso? Shouldn't this man be a bloody mess, a splatter in the wall after something like this?
I think it's a thing just in
It's a
shonen that
thing. Yeah.
armor and metal completely lose actual functionality after a certain point. And it's really just if you can punch a mountain in half, metal is not going to do anything. And if you're the sort of person who could punch a mountain in half, your fist is so much stronger than metal that it's
very true.
Why, of course it would go through.
In terms of physics, obviously, Zoro cuts steel with swords. Steel can't cut steel. Doesn't make sense. Or even Luffy can punch a mountain across, obviously. That means that, if you imagine the physics, his fist, what's going to break first, your fist or a mountain? The answer is your fist in terms of physics. But in One Piece, we have hockey. Which I assume makes the difference and could be applied to everything.
Even before hockey.
It's in all shonen. It just, we gave a name to it eventually. But it's in all shonen.
I would think, even before any sort of hockey was introduced, think of Usopp, this boy, before the time skip way early, even on his introductory arc, he gets quite damaged.
Oh, he should be dead many times over, for sure.
Many times over in the series. People like Usopp and Nami have been damaged. Usopp way more so, because it's funny when he gets, blood, broken skull. But he would be dead a million times over. He's just a normal person. He's not trained his entire childhood.
He is a shonen character,
But he is a shonen character, and he survives because he is so cool. I love Usopp.
He is very cool.
Sogeking.
Very true. So you know what? Just a small point. Manga. Wow, manga isn't like real life. Okay,
What?
shocker of the century.
Huh?
Imagine that.
What?
And then
Yes.
here goes Luffy. Now that he blew up this guy, he does his cool reference to the prisoners. Like, I'm leaving the rest to you guys, pointing to Scorpion Boy. And now the prisoners have decided, fuck it, we're rebelling. Luffy's a
Yeah.
real cool guy, and we're on Team Luffy now. So there you go. That's how you do it, baby. 8 days before the final battle. Without the enemy's knowledge, Udon has been conquered.
Yeah, I really...
There it is.
I kind of like how that is just sort of like stated as fact. It was conquered. That was the
Yeah.
decisive turning point. We don't know what happens to Luffy. I assume we'll come back and we'll have an explanation like, I sure was glad Chopper was here to make a magical potion and save everyone.
Yeah, I think that'll happen. Something like that.
But I do like how it's, they don't need to show the entire fight going through the entire place. Luffy
If you
just needed to
remember-
get people on his side and the place was his.
Indeed.
And that was
If you
cool.
remember, there's various times when people use panel. I mean, the placard when you meet a new character, and it'll say like, Katakuri, leader,
Big.
first commander of the Big Mom Pirates or whatever, like bounty, like 1 trillion or whatever the fuck is 1 billion 24, whatever it was.
1 quadrillion. He's just for some reason the most.
Something like that. And when I remember, for example, when the Straw Hats were fighting in Alabasta and they were defeated, like at the end it pairs off to like the one-on-one fights. There's like a little thing where it says like battle Roronoa Zoro versus Mr. One Daz Bones. Winner, Roronoa Zoro. There's like a panel that like, so even in the anime, that like statement of fact comes
Yeah.
up. So like we as the audience can be like, okay, time to file this one complete. Maybe people would think that's a little, I don't know, cheesy.
No,
but I love
that's-
it. I'm a sucker
that's-
for it.
That it's not cheesy. I mean, define
what
cheesy,
if-
but like
what if,
it's
like-
it's just sort of it's a cool capstone. Like it's like a news headline.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. But it's the narrator, it's the voice of God, and I trust it, and it's great. It's great.
It's the
I am
sort
a
of thing
religious
if
man.
you could imagine if it was like in the anime, like a gunshot sound when it appears on screen, like like boom, ooh,
And like
impact.
the narrator speaking
impact
or whatever.
font.
When we get to this panel in the anime, I'm sure a narrator will speak and text will appear on screen, reading out these lines in some capacity. Sono battleru wa owarimashita. Luffy-kun wa rebaru oregai shimasu. Whatever. Something like
I don't know
that.
what you said, but you sounded like you were trying real hard.
I said some words. And then Hyogoro, of course, is, wonderfully done, Straw Hat Man. You're so cool. You brought us
news,
a
everyone."
powerful ally, Kinemon. Arigato gozaimasu. Oh,
He
that's
probably
funny.
did say that. He probably did say arigato.
He probably did. That idiot. You fool. Who would say something like that? Look at his weird face. What a creep. Oh, it's good, though. I mean, there's not much else to say. They won.
Yeah.
Rebels convert, and of course we know that they established communication lines are cut off. The enemy doesn't even know that the rebels are now on Luffy's side. This is going to be a big surprise
Yeah,
when
the rebels, not just like the people here who are like
Yeah.
normal, but all the prisoners who are potentially powerful.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
don't yet know what Kid will do. I think this is going to be potentially a bit where Kid, he doesn't want to join yet, but he doesn't hate Luffy either for letting them go.
It's gonna be that classic thing where he's like, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because I want to kill Kaido myself, which he definitely does.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. I feel confident that'll happen. But I really want more backstory on Kid. Like, now is the time to give us, I want to know about Basil Hawkins' backstory. I still feel that there's a lot to learn about why Basil and Apu joined Kaido. We've got lots of information about them and Kid, and Killer, too, to discover.
I can only assume with Basil Hawkins.
Yeah. Basil.
and-
That's a very British name.
Basil is
In fact,
how
it might
I
actually,
pronounce
maybe it is Basil. I've called him Basil always, but
Basil is how I pronounce the herb, so
yeah.
There's that.
That's, okay.
yeah, I'm just weird, haha.
Just a freak.
I'm just a freak. I think it's gonna be like he's playing the long game, and he's doing something like a Nico Robin. He's doing something so he can get into a position where he can defeat Kaido himself, or or maybe he's waiting it out like he joined because he didn't want his crew and himself to be destroyed like Kid was. So he's waiting it out in the safety
we've seen
of
the rest of his crew. I wonder where the rest of his crew is. We've seen a couple of Hawkins' boys, and I don't think we ever saw him. There's one guy with just a cat head. Where's that guy at? I don't know. I think that guy's actually confirmed to be a mink, if I remember correctly.
Cafe. He's having a saucer of milk.
I think that he, like, for self-preservation and for potential, like, he'd figure, like, okay, the most advantageous thing for me to do right now is to go along with Kaido and, like, wait for a chance to either escape, save my crew, wait for someone to come along, or potentially get close enough to Kaido to, like, assassinate him in some cool way. Something like that. That's what I think.
One of those things that would maybe make you think the opposite is that the fact that he is so willing and gung-ho about, like, throwing the other the rookies, the worst generation, under the bus, trying to kill them, trying to kill Law and Luffy and stuff, and Kid. But, like, from his perspective, they're not, like, important characters associated with him. They are just as much people who are trying to become the Pirate King and therefore enemies as he is.
Very
so,
true.
like, if it means he can get closer to Kaido and potentially kill Kaido or do something that will, you know, be advantageous to him, why wouldn't he kill them?
Very good point. Very good point. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. By the way, I really like that we also, I mean, I read this before, but I also like the statement of fact from God that it's 8 days before the final battle. So we're really getting a time frame now of we know when the final battle is happening. I bet the characters don't even necessarily... No, they knew. They knew the timeline,
well,
I think.
They knew when the attack on Onigashima was going to happen.
Yeah.
Or when the meeting was... I forget exactly what the plan is, but they're going to meet on a certain date, and by that time, everybody's allied. Everybody's the cool guy, and everybody's going to show up.
I have a question about that. Yeah, pretty much. So they set a date. Like, this is the day we're going to invade Onigashima and take out Kaido. Okay, cool. But the plan was we need to gather these allies before that. Because they, like, right now, we do not have all the allies we need in order to beat them, and we will lose. Here's my question. If the day comes, and it's time to invade, and for whatever reason they did not succeed in gathering as many allies as they want to, would they still attack? Because, like, why would you do that if you haven't, like, secured your allies yet?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I think it's going to be...
It seems weird to set the date before having the allies, I guess.
Well, they probably set the date based on, like, the availability of, like, a ship that they could steal in order to get on to the island without being detected or whatever they're trying to do. I mean,
I'm still
if you
unclear on
remember,
that, but...
Nami and the other ninja lady, well, eavesdropping and found, like, businessmen talking about something. So, like, there's a reason it is that
Orochi's, like,
date.
traveling there. I think that's the date Orochi's traveling there.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so, fair enough.
So, like, it's their only opportunity. If they're not ready, they just have to go anyway because they have to try. They have to try and end this reign of terror.
I don't really understand. I've got a couple of questions. I don't really understand why the time that Orochi will be vulnerable is when he is at Onigashima with Kaido. Wouldn't he be more vulnerable basically any other time when he's not with Kaido?
Well, all right.
Unless they're going to sink the ship on the way there and they kill him while he's in transit. That seems like a vulnerable position.
I don't know the exact plan. I don't think they've implied what the plan is, but based on the fact that this is Wano and there's a lot of Japanese stuff, and the fact that I have played Okami on PS2.
Ah, me too.
I feel like Orochi, being the name of the bad guy in Okami as well, there's a moment when you go to Orochi's lair, which looks very similar to Onigashima, where he drinks a lot of alcohol, and we know Kaido drinks alcohol as well. He's also a dragon. That is when he's most vulnerable, is when he's getting drunk off of the holy sake, and he's like, oh, whoa, whoa, and that's when you strike. That's when you slice him in half.
Well, you know, okay, for
so,
that...
like, if that is, like, where this is leading, they'll probably explain that is the plan, and I will be a genius for having played Okami. But,
that would be interesting.
If that's not the case, then I have no idea what they're going to do.
If the idea is if there is a vulnerability they're looking to exploit, like if they're all partying and maybe they're really drunk and that's part of the plan, and they attack during that time, that would make sense. However, the thing that I'm worried about is whenever you've got a shonen or a video game or anything like that, there's a certain pattern that things fall into. This happens in One Piece a lot, where the idea is we will attack and they'll make a plan. In real life, you want to do a plan where you do the thing, you try to defeat your opponent while they're at their most vulnerable and at their weakest, and you attempt to put them in that position before you do the attack. That's always the plan, even in things like One Piece and video games and whatnot. However, unfortunately, for narrative reasons, and especially in video games, and for shit like that, what actually makes for the most satisfying story is when the enemy is actually the plan to get them at their weakest fails, and then the character is at their strongest, and then our heroes beat the enemy at their strongest. And this is the biggest thing in video games. That's where you want to fight the biggest challenge possible. And this definitely happens in shonen series a lot. You want your character to fight the most strong guy and show that he's the toughest. And I worry that that's where this is going, because that's pretty much what happened with Whole Cake. The plan utterly failed, and they just had to fight Big Mom. And Luffy did not have to fight Katakuri. He chose to for basically no reason. And don't get me wrong, I love it. But when I look back at the writing, it's okay. I mean, it's a little bit silly that we ended up. You see the pattern I'm describing, at least.
I understand that pattern, but I think that it is better to go down the pattern path than to subvert it by having the plan work. Simply because, here's a case study, the ending of Homestuck, if you remember that. Vriska came up with a plan. Vriska came up with a final battle plan, and in the flash of that final battle, everything just happened the way she said, and there was no
super boring.
And by the time it was over, we were like, wait, there's no twist, there's nothing else, that's just it? And then a lot of people were unsatisfied with how it ended. I think it is just inherently more satisfying, even if it's something to have, there's a reason it's a cliche. It's because it works. I think it would work way more if it even if it didn't, surprise us.
I'm totally with you, and frankly, it's almost a thing that you really have to do to keep the story interesting. But what it does is it just makes me laugh at the incompetence of the characters specifically, and be like, wow, you guys fuck up everything. Was it Law's plan on Green Bit to be utterly defeated by Doflamingo and get his fucking arm ripped off? And Law should have been dead. Doflamingo had him, he ripped his arm off, he shot him 10 times in the chest. It doesn't make any sense that Law is still alive, except that it's a shonen, and people just miraculously survive things. That's the kind of thing where I get it, I understand why it happens, but I am absolutely rolling my eyes at the convenience of nobody dies, nobody we care about dies. I think everything went wrong to make for the most interesting fights and whatnot. Yeah.
I think there are more, even when things are predictable, some things you roll your eyes at and some things are just really cool.
Yeah, I agree. So,
I think it depending on the situation and how much of a convenience it is.
You're right. And
it doesn't matter if it's a convenience we've seen before. It's just sort of depends on a lot of smaller factors, whether you roll your eyes or whether it's just the coolest thing you've ever seen again.
You're right. It's only really a problem, quote-unquote problem, when it happens a lot in a series, and then you come to expect the pattern, and it follows that pattern so many times. In Alabasta, for example, the plan actually went pretty darn well, except Luffy actually did lose to Crocodile, even after he had discovered the weakness, where you'd think that okay, now Luffy knows Crocodile's weak to water. Everybody else just did one-on-one fights with Baroque Works, though our characters won, all made perfect sense. There was nothing to eye roll about that. But then Luffy, he just lost to Crocodile and only survived through sheer miraculous luck that his water bullets saved his life after Crocodile drained him, and he really should have been dead. But after that was the only thing. After that, it was all gravy. It was all beautiful, wonderful, fantastic storytelling, and one of the best fights of all time. So that was all good. That was all perfectly good.
I think Oda does a tremendous job, considering the length of One Piece, to keep it fresh enough. He has an arc like Whole Cake where ultimately they lose and they have to run away. They kind of win, they get what they wanted, but they don't win the fight. Nobody beats Big Mom. And there are times when Luffy is just a lot stronger than the people who come up to him, like in like the Jaya arc when he punches Bellamy in the face, and it's the coolest thing ever.
Absolutely.
It's like I've mentioned this many times before, but like something like Fairy Tail, they will have the most like the world-ending climactic battle every single arc, where every single character has the most dangerous, almost gonna die, but they come back right at the end, final battle ever. They're never fighting someone who's weaker than them, they're never fighting someone who they can't beat. It's always exactly the same amount of difficulty in each arc, and it got really boring. I never finished it. But One Piece has those moments, like, you know, Shabodi Archipelago, where they lost and they got blown all over the place. The Straw Hat Pirates lose, they get separated. Sometimes they win really easily. Sometimes they do the normal thing where they beat the guy. And it's just sort of, I would say, remarkable that One Piece still doesn't really feel like it sticks to a formula all the time. It has, like, common traits that it keeps bringing back, like Luffy usually being the guy to fight the main guy and win. Yeah. But like, it's different enough every time that I've never really gotten tired of it.
I've certainly not gotten tired of it, and you'll know me. I don't need to state my credentials as a One Piece fan, I'm sure, for the billionth time and whatnot. Although, you know, here's an observation. What do you think about this fact? What do you make of the fact that, just as I mentioned at the beginning of this very episode, Boichi, who, was working with Oda, decided to do a chapter. The chapter they decided to adapt was chapter 51 and 52 of One Piece. We're on chapter 949, and he chose to adapt a chapter from very early in One Piece. Does that perhaps make you... It made me think a little bit like, was that when One Piece, was at its best? Was that when... Has it been... Are we downhill from there, perhaps? If this is the moment they choose...
I don't think you can quantify going downhill from, like... The nature of a story changes the longer it's told. Like,
Indeed.
You can only introduce the characters and have their biggest sort of, like, setup. Like, that is Zoro's biggest, on-screen setup for his character.
Yeah. I think that early on...
for his goal.
I think it's probably almost unfair to compare early on in a story to late, because just inherently having so much potential and still having room to establish things about the characters just makes it so much more, I don't know, like moments like that can be so much more powerful than kind of, we like step X along, Y number of steps toward completing the goal was completed. Like Luffy beats Kaido. Will that compare to what, let's say Luffy beats Kaido, it's like the coolest thing ever. Will that compare to when Luffy, I don't know, rang the bell in Skypiea? Because that in of itself was like such an incredible culminating moment that was part of its own little arc. Luffy was still relatively early on in his adventure, and I don't know, was just such a literal peak at the height, because like lol sky high, of I don't know, his adventuring life. Whereas defeating Kaido is, okay, that's step
it's
3 of defeating all the, step 2 of defeating the Yonko, collecting the red poneglyphs. Now we need to move on to like the next step of the plan, so we can,
I do agree that generally, when it gets to these payoffs that have been set up so early on, but were so like not really relevant to the goings on of the Straw Hat Pirates, like things like when Luffy beat Arlong and got Nami to stop hating pirates and become a pirate for real.
Oh, the feeling. Oh, the emotion. Yeah.
It's like, you can't have that moment every time Nami sees Luffy fight someone. Or like when Nika Robin says she wants to live. It's like, these are climactic payoffs to to a setup to a character, or like a beginning of a change in a character's arc or whatever. I think comparing certain aspects later down the line, it gets more difficult because, there is an aspect of like, okay, we got to wrap these things up. What's left on the checklist of things Luffy should do before the end? Yeah. And not all of them are going to be that big of a payoff as others. Like, Kaido was not like something we were talking about the entire time. It just sort of became relevant in the new world. In Punk Hazard, in fact, that's when it started.
Pretty much, yeah.
finding all blue, that's going to be way bigger. And that's going to be even later, you know, like all of these things that are more character focused and personal to these characters we love are going to be more inherently impactful than the defeat of a character that we've known about for a very long time, but it's only really been relevant for a few years in real life terms.
It's probably worth thinking about. There's probably a level of, I don't know, it's hard to describe, like a depth to which some characters appeal to our psyches. Like, just because we've been on the adventure with, like, Usopp for so long, I kind of care about his arc more than, like, Frankie's. What even is Frankie's arc? He made a ship, and he's gonna sail it, and he's gonna, protect it, I guess, and, like, okay, obviously I like Frankie a lot, but I care about Usopp, like, way more. And
I think Usopp is also just sort of more indicative of the theme of One Piece in general. Like, he wants to be a great adventurer, and he's a coward, and it's sort of like really cool to see someone so cowardly become so great. Frankie was sort of like, they had to fucking force him to even join, kind of, at the time. No, he wanted to, but he had obligations. He did want to. It was just sort of like, he has this one hang up about he doesn't want to build ships with guns on them because it hurts people.
And he didn't want to abandon his family. He was like, I gotta take care of these.
But then Tom, Big Boy, is it Tom?
Iceberg?
No, Big Fish Man.
Yeah, Tom the shipwright.
Yeah, Tom said, don't be ashamed of your creations. Your creations didn't kill anyone. You're not at fault. You're not the reason I'm dying. But, like, that character is, like, he sort of redeemed himself and finished that sort of thing already by building the ship that Luffy uses to become the Pirate King. Like, it will technically be paid off when Luffy becomes the Pirate King, and it's like Frankie is known as the shipwright who helped him get there with his ship.
Yeah.
But, like, there's not much more, like, emotional baggage there, or, like, things that need resolving. Usopp being a great super adventurer will never stop being relevant because there's always more challenges.
True. That's very true. And, it reminds me, like, the reason why an arc like Alabasta, for example, was so satisfying so that was an arc about Alabasta, the kingdom itself was being destroyed. And the hook, the anchor we had to give a shit about that story was, like, straight up like a member of the crew, Vivi. And, like, do I care? Do I give a fucking shit as a reader about, like, miscellaneous, resident of Alabasta number 2435897, whatever? No, not at all. Not as a reader. There are infinite nameless characters, like, suffering in the world of One Piece out there who our heroes could maybe save through their actions that I never think about because they're not, like, before us. The shonen manga are the stories of the characters that lie before us, and we don't spend a lot of time thinking about people who are off screen. So, like, in Wano, for example, the idea of making us care about, like, we need to feed everyone in Wano, it's a solid idea. But what hooks us, what makes us give a shit, is the characters that we meet and seeing their experience with it and watching their joy as, like, the day is saved and they get to eat. And, like, Tama is there. Do I care about Tama the same way I care about Vivi? Not even close. And seeing Vivi, she was the fucking princess, so obviously she cared and was, like, deeply tied to the well-being of that country. Seeing her be redeemed at the end of that arc and, like, her particular issue was solved there, that was, like, way more of an emotional connection to the narrative than, like, right now I have with any character, frankly, in Wano. And that's the sort of thing you need to work on. Like, okay, who we got? We got Tama, she's okay. We got Momonosuke and Kinemon. I like those guys.
I think,
but not that much.
Momonosuke should be more, like, if
Momonosuke's not even that prominent for some reason. He's kind of...
I mean, it makes sense because he has been gone for 20... Well, he's been gone for 20 years, and he's kind of young, and he hasn't seen a lot of things about, like, the horrors of... I mean, he's seen some of the horrors of Wano and what it's become.
I think...
But, like, he's not... There's never... You wouldn't expect him to have, like, a really tearful, like, I can't believe what they're doing to my country. He doesn't seem like that sort of character. which is a shame because we
I don't
kind of
think
need
that
that.
Vivi was really a weepy character, but you could still feel like her deep connection to the suffering of her people. And like I remember, like the first moment that happens, as I recall, is I think they had just left Drum Island. Or no, I think it's when they had just left Little Garden. I forget exactly when. They get a newspaper, and the newspaper, like, we see Vivi's face, like, react to it, and it says, like war has broken out in Alabasta, or, like, there was a fight, and we see, and that's when it's like, oh, shit, now it's time to be, like, Vivi boys, and think about Vivi. Momonosuke, the suffering is a little bit harder to, I don't know, hook into with Wano so far. And this is true of, like with Dressrosa, for example. Our hook into Dressrosa was the tin soldier guy who I really liked, and Rebecca. I don't give a fuck about Rebecca. Rebecca was not very interesting. I liked some things about her, but like it compared to Vivi, it's again not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not saying what should be done differently. I'm just pointing out what I think worked for Alabasta. Vivi had traveled with us. Like Kinemon was first introduced as Momonosuke's dad. We found out, oh, he's actually not his dad. He's actually just, like, his retainer. Okay, kind of weird. We never really were that close with Kinemon. And with Momonosuke, like you said, he's never been overly emotive about, like, the state of Wano or anything. Nor have we even really gotten to know them that well or, like, get attached to them as characters. Like, the biggest moment I remember about Momonosuke is when, like, Robin came out of the bath and they'd, like, taken a bath together. And he had this, like, you know, horrible shit-eating grin, and all the guys were super jealous, including Kinemon. That was funny. I thought that was dope. But that's, like, the number one thing I remember. Where, I don't know, with Vivi, I remember Vivi, like, beating the shit out of Usopp on Drum Island. That was really funny. I don't know. I remember her, like, being a weird antagonist when we first meet her, and then all the events of Whiskey Peak happen, where, like, Baroque Works starts to try to kill Vivi. All of a sudden, it's, like, a big... I don't know. There's a lot there to, like, hook into that character. And I think that was really important to pay off in Alabasta, because I really care, because Vivi really cares. And, you know, you meet other characters along the way,
I mean,
but, yeah.
Yeah, it is sort of a thing where we meet Kinemon in Punk Hazard, but, and Momonosuke, but, like, all the way through, like, the arcs...
It barely did anything.
That are in between that and Wano, I think were just so long that it was kind of hard for it to be about Kinemon.
Yeah.
And so Kinemon took a back seat. Like, with Vivi, Drum Island, like Little Garden, Drum Island, they don't feel like arcs, they feel like small arcs, like little chapters, little islands. I mean,
compared to
Drum Island
in terms
was
of
quite
chapter
big,
length,
but
absolutely true, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, it can still sort of always be about Vivi, the Vivi series, like, where it's the Straw Hats plus Vivi, and she's very much part of what is happening.
Yeah.
With Dressrosa, and then also Whole
It's
Cake...
too big, man. Too many characters. We
too
can't
many
focus
characters,
on Momonosuke. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't focus on Momonosuke, and we can't get a build-up of, like, Wano is this great place. I mean, even just a small thing of, like, Momonosuke talking about how Wano is so great and bountiful.
That's the kind of shit we need. We felt Vivi's connection. Like, remember, there will be a flashback that's going to be about Odin. It's going to be about Odin. It's going to happen in this arc, because he's obviously the big secret man that they're building up to. That's Momonosuke's dad. Like, we've got so much potential to do shit there. And you know what? I'm sure we will get a bunch of Momonosuke. If I could change Wano to please myself, it's stuffed with a lot of stuff just because it's such a big arc. There's so many characters involved. It's kind of unavoidable. But if I could, I would trim some of the other characters, and I would specifically add more Momonosuke moments. Him being able to do things, maybe feel useful to the plot in some way. I know he's a young kid, but, like, Vivi herself was not much of a fighter, and I still think that she was a far more effective, I don't know, hook into what was going on.
Yeah. Like, at the moment, Momonosuke feels like like secondary to Chopper, who is already like a background character in the arc.
Very true. Very true. Oof, that's a rough comparison. You don't want to be that. Well, you know, all this isn't to say that I don't like Wano. I'm enjoying Wano very much. I think there's a lot of good here.
It has a different flavor to it, but yeah, if Wano gets saved, I will feel less, but it will mostly be like I'll feel like happy that all of these alliances have teamed up in this really cool badass fight.
Yeah.
less so about like saving Wano from the clutches of all of this stuff. Because I mean,
not to mention, Kaido
the things we see
as a
with
villain.
The factories pumping stuff into the atmosphere and all this pollution and ruined fish, poisoned fish. It doesn't really permeate the locations that much.
It's just like the water you
kind
can't
of
drink and the food you can't eat, mostly.
Yeah, but like the water and food, that's not really been an issue for the characters in the chapters, if you know what I mean.
I mean, it is related to the smile stuff, but the scale of it is relatively small. Like, they didn't have good food, so they would be forced to eat smile rather than eat nothing or whatever.
Well, that was just one village. I'm talking about,
that's
like,
one village,
when they go to Ringo or whatever, like, it's just snowy there. That's just...
Yeah.
We don't see the suffering going on there. In the capital, people seem to be fine, and they don't all seem to be of high society either. Maybe they are. But like in the prison, like you kind of forget that there are factories there until you see that there's factories.
Yeah,
there
there they
weapons.
are doing things.
Maybe it'll be more clear in the anime when we have time to linger on these like sweeping shots of skulls and the barren wasteland.
That's true, dude, but I don't fucking watch the anime. I don't really care how much better it is. I read the fucking manga, dude. This is the pure shit as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, maybe the anime will fix things. That's great for people who watch the anime. I'm not one of them.
I did watch the anime for things like Alabasta, so...
Well, back in those days, sure.
Well, yeah, but like that maybe the comparison is like if I had only read the manga, I would feel similarly. Like, I'm not sure.
I see your point. I've gone back and read the manga for those.
Because the anime with the music adds a lot to the feeling of certain scenes, and when it gives weight to a panel by making it last longer than you may have read it for.
That's true.
There's aspects to think about for that.
And of course, there's the chapter by like waiting a week in between to get a little bit of more information every chapter. That's tough to sift through. And back in those days, we had the luxury of just like burning through. I think I got caught up in the manga at Thriller Bark, I believe, is when I was finally up to date. So yeah, it was right at the end of Enies Lobby into Thriller Bark, I think. I don't know. Oh, you know, I was just going to say one other thing about Kaido as a villain. The thing about Kaido as a villain is Kaido's MO is basically, I don't give a shit, and collateral damage is fine. Whereas, compare that to somebody like Eneru or Crocodile. Those were far more directly malicious villains who I wanted to see taken down for very specific slights. Like, Crocodile was straight up manipulating and causing war, fucking up all of Alabasta, specifically as a way to take over, obtain power for himself, and to find, what was it, Pluton? Yeah, Pluton. This was like all part of his direct plan, and that had been going on for arcs.
You know,
it's very similar to Kaido, honestly. But
I feel like the problem with that in Wano is that we have Orochi, who is the evil guy, but then we have Kaido, who is the Yonko. I think if Kaido was not a Yonko, there would be no real reason to talk about him as, like, the thing to defeat.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
obviously
really
it's
just
important
sort of like,
that he exists, but...
Well, yeah, but, like, if Orochi wasn't here and Kaido was just... He had taken over Wano, and he was at the seat of power, and he was doing all of this stuff, he would be way more intimidating just by being relevant to everything that's going on where Orochi would be.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
I'm not even really sure why Kaido is working with Orochi. Why is he just made himself king like Doflamingo did? Doflamingo kind of had a claim, but not really. There was a king there who he deposed, so maybe he finds it just more beneficial. I guess Kaido doesn't probably want to have to run the administrative stuff or something.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you can have a lackey do that. It just feels like, from a writing perspective, having two villains makes both of them not as effective as if there was just one.
Yeah. That's true. Crocodile was the guy. Beat Crocodile, save the world. Beat Eneru, save the world. That was the thing. So yeah. I don't know. I know it's more complicated. We're just talking about comparisons and whatnot, peeps. So, you know, I find it very interesting to think about all these things and compare how previous arcs have gone versus the new ones. Was there anything else? Oh, you know what? I was just going to make one final point to pick up on a thread from earlier about how I was saying that, like, you want in a video game or a shonen to defeat the enemy at their most power. Like if there's like the mention of Super Saiyan happens, but it's for the bad guy, and we're like, we have to beat the bad guy before he can go Super Saiyan. Like, we have to do it and defeat them at their lowest before they get super powerful, and we won't be able to beat them. As a reader, you want anything to happen to make sure that villain goes Super Saiyan, so you can see what it looks like, and you can see like what happens when that happens, because that's the most interesting thing that could happen in the story. And in the same way, the difference is, I think we've already basically seen, like, Kaido, basically at full power, laser blasts, hit Luffy or whatever, and we know he's, like, super duper strong.
He was drunk at the time, so we don't actually.
Fair. Might not even have been 100%. But, like, I think I would actually be very down for this to be almost like a deviation from the expectation I said before. If we do have, like, an arc that's based on, or, like, a final battle that's based on, everyone's going to do chip damage to Kaido to just wear him down, and maybe they drug him or they poison him so he's at his weakest. I don't think we have a lot to lose there. One, because Zoans aren't that interesting of fighters, so what are we even losing? He's going to swing a club and blast laser blasts at you as a dragon. Got it. Seen it before. I don't know. Like, I kind of want this to be that arc where that happens. And there was a specific plan to defeat Big Mom. I hope to see something similar in order to defeat Kaido, and I'd be A-okay if it actually kind of works and they more follow the plan, as long as it's done in an entertaining way. But it all depends on the specifics, so I guess we'll see.
I can definitely imagine everybody doing their final big attack on Kaido, and Kaido just lets it hit him. It's like, oh, is this it? Can I finally die? No, it didn't work, and he gets up like, God damn it, guys.
But what happens after that? What do you do in the story after that moment?
He just goes into the water and drowns himself.
I think that would work.
Why didn't he do that before? Kaido, come on.
Maybe he doesn't want to die in a pussy way. That's my thought. Like dropping off a sky island and face planting on the ground. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, he could technically take a bath and die.
Indeed. Okay, I think I'm done. Any other comments? Anything else?
Nope, I'm done as well.
Chapter 949, all wrapped up.
Go to the Discord, where you can be a normal person, or you can be a patron as well, and you get a funny color, and you get access to chats in the Pod Discord, where we talk about One Piece and lots of other things. People talk about whatever in there.
Other manga, other series, things that are going on. Yeah, it's a pretty active place. Pretty fucking active chat. Did you mention the Patreon? Patreon.com/thepodcastpirates, your one-stop shop for all things One Piece podcast related?
No, but you did.
Excellent.
You did just then.
Give us money, people. $1 and you're a blue and you're not a filthy white, and $5 and you're something else, and so on and so forth. Up the chain to be a commander for $20, which is, what you all should be doing. But I'll allow it.
Join the crew, haha.
Exactly. All right, thanks for being here, peeps. We'll be back again next time. I'm gonna try to get it out like the same day next time the next chapter comes out. I'll be ready. That's in 4 days, 5 days or something. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.